Okay, we had a question about how to use a Google form with kvCORE and inject the responses from the Google form into kvCORE. So here I am right here in a Google form. And the first thing I'll mention is that when responses are submitted to a Google form, if we click the responses tab up in the middle here, you can right click, you can toggle on this accepting responses, and it's going to have you send your responses into a new or existing Google Sheet. So when I created this form, I clicked accepting responses, and then if I click the little sheets icon here, I believe it automatically opened it the first time I did it. You'll see that all my fields show up here automatically, and then anytime something is entered, all the fields are going to map over to the sheet. Now this is an important detail because the way that you're going to use Zapier.com to push this data from the form in is actually whenever a new row is added to this sheet. That's the nature of the Zap we're going to build. So here we have our example form. I did a quick investor survey, which best describes you, what type of properties you're interested in. I get the name, email, phone, and I'm going to answer this real quick so that we have some sample data. So I just open it in a new window. So I'll go ahead and check some of these off. Okay, and then click submit. Now it's been recorded, and if I go over to that sheet again, you can see magically all that info piped in right here. Now let's head on over to Zapier. And inside Zapier, I'm going to create a new Zap. So you just click the new Zap button, create Zap. We'll name it up at the top left. You always have to remember that Zapier doesn't kind of remind you to do that, but Google form to kvCORE. I like to name mine kind of like this. Okay, and then my trigger app is going to be the source of the data. So that'll be a Google spreadsheet. So if I just type S, it actually Google Sheets pops right up. So it's going to be called Google Sheets. My trigger event is going to be a new spreadsheet row. So a new row is added to an existing spreadsheet. I'm going to need to connect up my Google account. So let me do that now. Connect a new account. And you can connect up multiple Google accounts in here. So if you're working in a team environment, you have multiple different Zaps or forms, and you're the admin, for example, you could hook multiple agents' accounts up to this if you want with the forms they're submitting. So here's my Google Sheets account. I've linked that up. I'll click continue. Set up trigger. Now it's going to ask me which spreadsheet I want to use. Now in most cases, it should grab the last one, which it did. It'll just show up right up at the top. The last one you just created will show up there. And then worksheet, it's generally going to be that form responses sheet number 1. So in Google Sheets, since the form responses are going in here, sometimes you can have multiple sheets, and those would be shown down here. But since we only have one sheet, we only have one to choose from. But you may be injecting your responses into a sheet with multiple tabs. So I like to bring up that detail. You're going to choose which worksheet to work off of. Now I'm going to click continue. And what it's going to do is it's going to ask me to test, and it's going to pull in any data that it finds there. And keep in mind, most Zaps that you build are going to work similarly. So this tutorial about using Google Forms, you could apply to most other sources of data. That works similarly. So you can see here all my data kind of came over in these columns right here. I'll click continue. And now I'm going to pick kvCORE. I'm going to search for kvCORE. It'll pop up. Choose an event. I'm going to create a new contact. I can also update an existing contact. So say you know you're sending this sheet to people who are already leads because you want to find out more information about them. That would be a scenario where you have your first campaign email go out and you say, hey, thanks for opting in. I just have some questions about what you might be looking for. Please fill out this survey or this sheet. That might be an example where you say, all right, I'm going to update the contact, right? So we'll hit create contact here. I'm going to choose the kvCORE account. Now, I'm just going to pick one right here that I've already connected. But if you haven't connected a kvCORE account yet, just go through the wizard and know that your kvCORE Zapier key is in the lead engine section. So if we come to lead engine in kvCORE, we go up to lead drop box up at the top right. And then we'll get our Zapier key here. You're going to need this as you connect Zapier for the first time up to kvCORE. So you'll put that in the wizard as you go through that. I've already done that step, so we're going to click continue. And now we're simply going to take the fields that came over from the spreadsheet and we're going to inject them into the various fields in kvCORE. So first name, If I click in this box, you can see my options all come up. I'll click Show All Options, and I'll choose my name. Choose lead type, last name. I didn't have a last name field in there. In the future, I'll do that. Email, cell phone. And then I can move through here. You know, I can name the source. We had a couple of extra questions. So in general, since these fields aren't going to exist in kvCORE, we can do something like this. I'll type which best describes you, ? So I'll type what it is, and then I'll inject that field like that, right? Types of properties. And this is how you'll handle the fact that you're doing custom fields. You'll put them into the notes. Financing, ? So you'll be able to see that right in a note. And as this comes in, I might suggest that you pin this note as you get these leads to the top of the contact record as they come in. And then my tag, my hashtag, I can call this investor, right? Or investor survey, something like that. Hit continue. And then when I test and continue, it should put the lead into kvCORE directly. So this lead was sent to kvCORE using my lead ID. And last step would be to turn on the Zap. And then once you click and turn on the Zap, anytime somebody fills out your survey, right here, your Google form, that data will flow into the sheet. And then the sheet Zapier will see that happen in the sheet, and then it'll push the data into kvCORE. So hope this helps. Again, this is specific to Google Forms. You need that extra step of having a spreadsheet that puts the data into most sources that you're hooking up to kvCORE via Zapier. You know, it's going to be native to whatever that thing is. So the form goes to the sheet, and then the sheet goes to kvCORE in this case, but the process always looks very similar. You're going to have a trigger app, in this case Google Sheets, and then you're going to have kvCORE stuff happening in there.